Hello ladies! So I want to talk with you guys today about surrendering to the universe, because I know it is something that a lot of people struggle with, how to just let go and trust that you are being divinely guided, that the universe is supporting you, and that your desires are on their way. Now, surrender very much ties in with this idea of control. So quite often, I don't know about you, but I'm a bit of a control freak. I've often like to control the outcome. I like to have things planned out. I like to know what's happening and when. And what I've realized is that in that place of control, trying to force things to happen, actually things often don't go as I want them to. And I want to give you a good example here. And it's about how I take holidays and how I used to take vacations in the past and my new attitude towards taking a holiday. So I love traveling, and I think it was especially when I was in a job and I knew I only had a certain amount of weeks a year to take holiday, I would meticulously plan out every single trip to the very minute detail. There wasn't really much room for spontaneity because I wanted to make sure I was making the most of my time and I was fitting everything in. So I was basically a control freak when it came to planning. And it's not to say that I didn't have good trips. I had lots of amazing trips where I did meticulously plan. But when you are so fixated on how you want things to look and how you want things to pan out step by step, what you're actually doing is you're disconnecting yourself off from the universe to work its magic as well. You're not giving it any room to join you in the co-creation process. And so this was how I used to holiday a long while ago. And quite often, things that I would plan didn't always go my way. So it might be like, oh, okay, we've got this schedule to follow, and then the timing would get a bit off, and then that would throw the whole plan out of the water. And because I planned all of this stuff, it was almost like, oh God, now the holiday's going wrong. So as I said, it's not that I didn't not enjoy the holiday, but sometimes I would find that things didn't always work out how I wanted them to work. And then that made me feel a little bit frustrated, especially, knowing that I had that just precious time to take those holidays and I wanted everything to be perfect. And through my studies of the law of attraction and understanding how important it is to be able to just let go and go with the flow and allow yourself to be guided by the universe, I started to look at how I take trips in a different way. Now, I still do a lot of planning just because that is my nature, but I allow a lot more room now for spontaneity, for the universe to work its magic and to just see what shows up. And here's the thing about surrendering. If we are thinking about surrendering in relation to our desires, the ability to surrender is like a muscle. The ability to let go and go with the flow and trust that things are going to work out in your favor. It's like a muscle that we can strengthen. So the more opportunities you have to surrender to the process, the stronger that muscle is going to be. And so when it comes then to your desires, you will find it's way, way easier to let go. So I found like doing certain things like surrendering when it comes to holidays and going with the flow on holidays, I found it much easier than when it comes to my business to surrender as well, because I'm doing it in other areas of my life. And what was really interesting, the first trip I took when I did sort of fully commit to this, and I had sort of certain things that I had planned, but the rest of it was just like, well, we'll just see what happens. We'll see what restaurants we stumble across. We'll go and like rent a car for a day and just see where we end up, like not having to plan every little thing. And oh my goodness, what a magical experience it was, because in that moment, I realized like the universe wants you to live your highest possible vision of life. It wants you to reach your fullest potential. It wants you to experience life to the fullest. But you've got to allow it to guide you. If you're sort of so controlling with things all the time, you're not allowing the universe to guide you as well. So we ended up stumbling across the most amazing restaurants, like hidden beaches. We met the most amazing people. These are experiences and people that we would never have had or met if I had been so fixated on this is what we are doing and when. And as I said, that ability to surrender then filtered into my business as well. And I found it far easier to allow myself to let go because I was doing it in other areas of my life. So have a think about your life right now. Like, is there a certain area of your life which you're constantly trying to force or control? Okay, so it could be something really sort of simple. So actually, another good example here is yoga. If anybody is a yogi and has like a regular yoga practice, you may sort of get me where I'm coming from with this, because yoga is a practice where it requires you to surrender. A lot of the poses, they can be a little bit painful and you have to just kind of allow your body to just kind of sink into that pose, surrender to the process, and be sort of non-judgmental. And often I had this experience because if I do something, I want to be really good at it. Like for me, like average has never been in my vocabulary. If I go in, I'm going all in. I'm not going to half-ass anything. I'm going to use my full ass, as the saying goes. And yoga is one of those things. And there was a time when I hadn't practiced yoga in a while, and then I came back to my yoga mat, and a lot of the poses that I used to be really good at, I was really struggling to get into, especially some of the more challenging poses. And so I found myself trying to force myself into these poses when, my hamstrings were probably a bit too tight for them, and I ended up doing a lot of damage and, kind of giving myself these injuries because I was trying to force things. And yoga is a classic example where, you shouldn't be trying to force things. You've got to just let it go. You've just got to accept where you are in that moment and allow things to unfold in this really sort of gentle way, trusting that things are going to work for you at the moment they're meant to. People are going to come into your life at the moment they're meant to. You're going to get what you want to have at the moment you're meant to, and it's always going to be in your highest interests. So yeah, I'd love to know though, like, what do you do in your life to help yourself surrender to the universe? Or where do you find yourself being challenged with this? Do you struggle with this whole process of surrendering, of letting go? Are you a bit of a control freak like me? Like, yes, definitely let me know in the comments if that is you, because yeah, it's something I'm still, I guess, working on to a certain extent. But yeah, if you loved this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, go ahead and do so now. I would be eternally grateful, and yeah, I will connect with you all again very soon.